Has PKD belly caused you to experience any physical discomfort? And if so, how do you manage it?
I don't have it right now because I had the kidneys removed.
Mm-hmm.
But when I did have them, it was very uncomfortable, just causing a lot of discomfort, especially in the lower back, and just kind of threw your. I don't know if this is legit or not, but I thought it threw my balance off, when I was walking, just because of the disproportionate way the weight was on your body. Um, it was just miserable, carrying uh, probably close to 20 extra pounds in that specific area.
I feel awkward sometimes, and I never attributed it to that you're off
Yeah,
balance or that you have. I never thought of that.
yeah. There's times that I felt like I was, like walking and kind of falling forward because of the weight like hanging out in front of you.
Uh-huh.
Um, you know, I just thought it was just me losing my balance because I'm older, but it doesn't happen ever since I had the kidneys taken out. I know that it caused me to have the hernia that I have right now, um, because of this, the stretching of the abdominal muscles and everything. And but I had looked into some garments. I even got on some websites about, something that be more supportive. I guess something in line of like what pregnant women wear to kind of keep their bellies, you know, kind of in control. And they did have some things available. They were quite expensive, but they did have some things that addressed that problem.
I think generally mine is not was because I still have mine, but just general bloating all the time, feeling, like you just finished Thanksgiving dinner. There's never that like flat, flat stomach, no matter how, yeah. But yeah, I mean like Gary said with the clothing, I mean, most of my stuff is either elastic to the sides or completely. I have jeans that are completely like maternity pants, but they,
Sure,
because
sure.
if you zipper and button something, that's just gonna dig. It's not a good feeling. It's not a comfortable. It seems vain, but yeah, it's just not comfortable. So
I forgot
yeah,
about that. It's absolutely true.
yeah,
Wearing pants with a belt just did not work.
nope, nope,
Yeah, I actually wore maternity jeans
yeah,
before I had
I can
my
see that. Yeah,
nephrectomy because it's like if you buy clothes that fit your stomach, then they're too big everywhere else. And if you buy clothes to fit
right.
everywhere else, they don't go around your stomach. Um, and I found that was way more comfortable.
as I say, it's nice being able to
Good.
work. I can wear stretch pants most days, and I don't feel that pressure.
I felt too that while the kidneys were in there, it always seemed like Kristee said, you had this feeling like you're full all the time, like you just sat down to a big dinner. And the other thing that happened with it was I was not able to eat that much. It was almost like, it was pushing against my stomach so much that, it resulted in reflux, and it resulted in the stomach actually like having, surgery on a stomach that you would, do in a weight loss program. It was the stomach was actually smaller uh, than it normally is because the kidneys were pressing down on it so much.
Yeah, I think we're starting to touch on our next question, which is have you felt like you had to change your daily routine or your lifestyle because of having enlarged kidneys? So,
Yeah,
Yes,
definitely
yes,
press.
definitely. Yeah,
yes.
ever since then, I have not been able to lay flat on my stomach. It makes me nauseous.
Mm-hmm.
Wherever I do it, maybe if I'm at getting an exam at a doctor's office and they ask me to lay on my stomach, I really can't do it because it makes me sick, and And I attribute it to the kidneys just pressing up against the stomach and, just making you feel that way was a real problem. And as Kristee said, sleeping was an issue too. You had to kind of sleep on your side, and it just throws a lot of things off balance as far as your body and positioning of your body.
I think it's interesting, Gary,
I
that
was gonna say, if I ever hear someone say they're a stomach sleeper, I'm always like, how can you do that? That's just,
yeah.
I can't even fathom that. That's just not even the realm.
No.
Yeah, I was thinking about Gary's mentioning that it kind of throws you off balance. I really haven't thought of it that way before, but I think that's really true. And we've actually talked a little bit about this, but I don't know if you have anything to add about how has this influenced your clothing choices, or your fashion, that things that you really like to wear. Has enlarged kidneys caused you to make different changes or different choices?
Yeah, it's like Kristee said, you had to kind of rely on pants that were expandable, even if it was with a belt or not. You just couldn't have the restrictive clothing around your waist because it just didn't work.
Mhm.
It didn't work like across the stomach, and you couldn't like put it below the stomach because then, in my case, I was like constantly like pulling my pants up all the time because there was nothing holding them up, belt or no belt. It was just an awkward uh, situation. Shirts too. I would have a shirt that would fit me perfectly in my arms and my chest, but then when it came down to especially button-down shirts, because of the PKD stomach, I mean, I was having trouble buttoning those buttons, to the point where, sometimes it was obviously looked like, it was really stretching, which it was right where the stomach was, because it was not, it wasn't in proportion to the rest of your body measurements. And there, there's, what do you do with clothing? You have to once again get something that is flexible and gives a little bit, or get a bigger size, and then that doesn't match up with the rest of your body.
Yeah, button downs are tough. Button downs are
Yeah.
snug. And yeah, because like you said, they fit everywhere else, but they're snug around there. But also like with women's, with sometimes I found dresses easier than pants. And it would make, I had to have a real high waist so that it wasn't tight anywhere, but then how it hung wasn't maybe the most attractive sometimes. So it really yeah, it made clothes shopping difficult. It makes not even made it makes it clothes shopping kind of difficult. I'm always best with like a pair of leggings and an oversized shirt. That's my go-to. That's my go-to because it can hide, I might put like a t-shirt underneath so it looks like it's fitted, but then put like something flowy over top. So the t-shirt has give, but the jacket or whatever over top can hide a little bit. Jackets help. Jackets can hide a little bit. You don't have to see a waist necessarily.
How do you feel this impacts body image or self-esteem?
Oh, I think it impacts it greatly. It's very frustrating to try to find clothing that fits you right, and I would just get self-conscious about my appearance, that my clothing just didn't fit right, and and people didn't know what was going on with you, didn't understand. They just thought you had like a big beer belly or something. I remember my father getting teased about that by people that didn't know that he had PKD and he had PKD belly, and they just thought he was drinking a lot of beer or something. So yeah, it does affect the way you feel about yourself, and the way that you think people see you, with that condition.
I think it's especially difficult, special occasions, weddings and things like that, where you want to look your apps day to day. Like I said, leggings and a big shirt, that's fine. But when everybody's looking their best, to have to accommodate for that is when it's most apparent, I think, or when I guess you're most self-conscious of it.
Even I remember, once again going for sizes that fit me in suits, and buying a suit. And I have a problem already with that. I can't just buy a suit off the rack because I'm bigger upper body than I am lower body. So I can't buy a suit because one way or another, one part's going to be too big and the other one's going to be too small. So the PKD Belly presented yet another problem because I would buy a suit with a jacket that didn't quite fit. It fit everywhere else, but there was a lot of times that I had to just keep it unbuttoned because I really couldn't button it without it looking really bad.
I think that's hard to talk about. And I really appreciate you sharing because I think a lot of people have concerns. A lot of PKD patients do. And I think it's good to hear from others that have tried to manage all aspects of PKD, and especially those that affect our body image or our self-esteem. So how do you maintain your emotional well-being dealing with the challenges associated with having these enlarged kidneys and having to make different choices about wardrobe and lifestyle and all of those things?
Yeah, I was just going to say, as you're wrapping up the last one, I wanted to add, and it segues into this, but with age comes wisdom, and the longer you have it, the more you can kind of come to terms with it. And, I could where if a 20 something or a 30 something, it would impact, almost 60. So, it doesn't really, I've come to terms and I've come to appreciate, I'm transplanted, I'm healthy, I have to concentrate on the positives and just kind of let that go as just a side effect or outcome, great outcome, but part of the disease. It's just you just have to learn to accept it.
When I started, when it was like noticeable, I was probably in my mid to late 30s to early 40s. So there was a lot of things that I thought that I should still be able to do and I wasn't able to. And just the image thing really bothered me a lot because I was really self-conscious about it. And I've struggled with weight issues all my life, and to have something like that, it just looks like to other people like, wow, he's just finally just let himself go now, but that wasn't the case. And it limited things that you wanted to do, as far as exercise and just just as something as simple as getting in a car and driving, because you're getting in there and you want the seat to be in a position where you can drive and your feet reach the pedals, but there's your stomach like pressing up against the steering wheel sometimes. And, you don't realize all the things that affects until you finally, have to face one of those obstacles and try to figure out a way to get around it if possible.
Are there other things that you feel like you've had to do or change because of the pain that extra weight in your abdomen? So Gary, you mentioned like exercise a little bit different. Are there other things that you had to change? Kristee, you mentioned sleeping with the wedge because that gave you some comfort. Are there other things that you feel like you had to change as far as exercise or anything like that goes?
Yeah, I was just going to say I was in a exercise class yesterday. It was water aerobics. And one of the things we were doing was like touching your elbow to your, like crossing over to your knee. And I'm like, yeah, I can't do that. I mean, and you have to know that. You just have to know you have to go as far as you are able to go. You have a limit, and everybody potentially has some kind of limit, and that just happens to be mine. So I just go as far as I can go and not beat myself up about it because I'm there at the exercise class.
Yeah, I think water aerobics might be a good choice.
Yeah, I think that's a great exercise for that situation. Because the other, doing treadmills and things like that. I mean, it's just that weight up front just really took its toll on you doing that kind of exercise. So I would do more like maybe a recumbent bike, or
Mhm.
do some lightweight training or something. I mean, there wasn't any more doing sit-ups or crunches because you just can't do it. You
Mhm.
know, um, so you just had to pick and choose the types of exercise that you could be involved with, and and even sports for that matter. After a while, I found it very difficult to. I love to play tennis, and I just felt like I couldn't play up to my potential because of the stomach. It's just
Yeah,
physically.
and even Gary, how you said with the off balance when you're playing tennis, your pivots and things like that,
Yeah, the weight's gonna pull you pull you the
take you
other way.
farther than you need to go.
Yeah.
Momentum.
Kristee, you touched on this a little bit, but what advice do you have for other PKD patients?
Yeah, I think what I had said before is just being accepting, give yourself some grace on what you're able to do, what your body's capable of, and um, yeah, I mean, I'm very thankful. 15 years transplanted, very thankful for that, and
Hmm.
those are the limited things that's come up that little nagging things that I mean, for some are not little and nagging. Mine is not as severe as Gary's was in the past.
There were times too that I went to my nephrologist and said, I'm having so much like kidney pain and stuff. I mean, there's just not enough room for these things. Is there something you could do to ease the pain? Because pain medications just didn't address that type of pain at all. I'm talking like specifically kidney pain
Mhm.
associated with the cyst. And they did a couple uh, what they call cyst aspirations, where they took the fluid out of the cyst that were surrounding the kidney to give you a little more room. I wouldn't recommend it unless you're in a lot of pain, but it's temporary because the cysts end up filling up with fluid eventually again. But it does give you some relief, even if temporary. But the only other way that I was told that the cysts wouldn't fill back up was to unroof them, which would have involved a surgery. And my nephrologist said, if you're going to go through a surgery to do that, he said, you might as well just have them removed, because it's basically going to be very similar surgery. So why go in there and just unroof cysts and you still have the PKD kidneys in there? He said, let's just take them out if you're having that much problem with them.
So I'll switch gears just a little bit for this next question. Um, what is the best way for friends, family, or caregivers for them to offer their support? Or maybe was there support or is there support that you feel like you need that is hard to find?
This sounds kind of vain, but when you do dress up or whatever, just to hear that you look nice. It's such a small thing, but you are self-conscious, that the dress isn't form fitting or whatever, but just to hear words like that kind of assures you that for what you have, you're able to put it out the best you can.
And then we have one last question for you. Are there any support groups or resources that you found particularly helpful in dealing with the emotional and physical aspects of managing PKD?
I think the local chapter, I think we all can, commiserate a little bit having been through it, that we can see other people in the same situation. And even though it presents in other people, like Gary was saying, Jean necessarily, she had a little belly, it didn't really, you can still um understand where they're coming from. You can still, well, no matter who is presenting, when we have our support meetings, no matter who is talking about the drug reaction or pains or setbacks or whatever, we can all associate with it and have either been there or have another thing that's similar, and everybody can associate with that too. So it's I think knowing people in the same situation, having support like that has been, for me, it's been the best thing.
Yeah, I would have to agree that the local PKD chapter meetings have been usually very educational to me, even though I've had PKD for quite a long time, and my father had it before me. I don't think there's a meeting that I go to that I don't take something back from, with me that I didn't know before.
I love when new people show up and I think hearing from us and seeing us all living with PKD and sharing our stories, I think that's encouraging for them, but it also, when you share it, they're going to be able to, if that comes up, if that whatever problem or issue comes up with them, they know they've heard of it, and that can put their mind at ease too. So just the support of for yourselves and being able to share it with others.
Any other thoughts you guys would like to share or questions for us?
Nope, I'm good, but I appreciate you doing this because there's a lot of us out there.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for doing this. I remember a situation when I was trying to get approved for my first transplant at Allegheny General, and my nephrologist, or vascular surgeon, I should say, he wanted me to be at a certain BMI. And like I said, I battled, weight issues pretty much all my life. So, I did what I needed to do. I went and worked out with my son and, got down like 20, 25 pounds. And he would never acknowledge that I was carrying extra weight for the PKD kidneys, which I was. He just took it straight up and said, no, your BMI is this, you still gotta. And then finally my nephrologist that I would see outside of AGH, he finally called him up and said, are we gonna make this guy go through dialysis because he's 3 points short on his BMI and he has a living donor? So that's what prompted the decision. But yeah, there's a lot of people that don't recognize that too, when you're doing weigh-ins and stuff, that you do have that extra weight that it's no fault of your own that extra weight is there, but not a lot of people recognize that as being, why your weight is up, maybe is because of having PKD belly.
Yeah,
I'm glad your nephrologist called the surgeon and had a
Oh,
conversation.
yeah. My creatinine was going crazy, and he said, I was so close to dialysis, we should have never called it that close. But he wouldn't do it because I needed, 3 more points on my BMI, and
I wonder if you would have subtracted the weight of your kidney, what your BMI would have been.
It probably would have been acceptable.
Right.
I don't know. And it's hard to tell like how much of the weight is actually attributed to it until you actually remove them. So it's hard to tell how much weight is attributed to the PKD kidneys. But
yeah, that's what I assume. Mine are probably 5 to 7 pounds each. So I always when I get on the scale, I subtract 10 off the top. Makes me feel better.
Definitely. Well, we really appreciate both of you for sharing your thoughts and your feelings about this to help others. So thank you for being a part of this.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
We appreciate it.